If you're a professional photographer, you've struggled with this before: creative burnout. Hi, my name's Ken from Just Married Photography and Beauty and Boudoir Photography, and I've been a professional photographer for over 23 years. And today in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about some tips that I've learned in my experience about how to prevent yourself from experiencing creative burnout as a photographer. So let's get started. One of the most important tips that I can tell you is that personal self-care is one of your best friends as a photographer. A lot of times we work ourselves so ragged, we're running our feet off, we're shooting different shoots back to back, we're traveling all over the place, and we're just hustling. And in that midst, sometimes we barely have time to eat, we don't get to go to the bathroom even, and we're sweating, we're dehydrated, we're not drinking enough water, we don't have enough time to exercise. Sometimes we don't eat the whole day from a shoot, and then when we do get to eat, we sit down and we pig out on a bunch of chips. You know it, I've done it, all of us have done it before. And amidst all this, when do you ever have time to focus on your mental health, your spiritual health, and to spend time with your loved ones and your family? All of us struggle with this big time problem, which is self-care. And one of the problems with burnout is that your body is saying to you, you need to slow down. You're running yourself too ragged and you've just got too much going on. Now here's the thing when it comes to self-care. There's really no way to get around this. You can try to make yourself some nice little cool shortcuts in order to be able to care for yourself. But at the end of the day, if you don't make time to self-care, you're not going to have time to self-care. The important thing is to be able to find time in your schedule to be able to do that. Maybe it means that you have to say no to some things. At the end of the day, if you're saying no to some things, you're actually saying yes to other things. Maybe you're saying no to certain jobs that you might not necessarily need anymore. Maybe you're saying no to some requests from people that maybe don't make sense. Maybe these kinds of requests actually cost you a lot of time but actually bring very little results. But by saying no to some things, you're actually saying yes to certain other things. In particular, you're saying yes to giving yourself time to be able to care for yourself. And self-care is more than just physical. It's more than just fitness. It's more than just diet. Self-care is also mental and spiritual. Taking time to be able to care for your mental health and your spiritual health is super important. And one of the best ways you can do that is to spend time with your loved ones. Remind yourself about the passions in life of why you're doing what you're doing. Because when you do that, it brings to life everything that you're doing and makes it all worth it. And that brings me to my second tip. If you're ever experiencing creative burnout, you'll know what this feels like. Creative burnout feels like you're running your feet off and you're just doing the same old poses. You're doing the same old thing for every shoot. And it's really difficult for you to come up with something new. Now, all of us as photographers have a style. And style is the way we interpret the world in front of us. It's the way we see things as an artist. One of the best ways in order for you to stay creatively inspired is to actually experiment with different styles. And what that means is to open your mind to be able to see the things that other people are seeing. Try something new. Make it your aim to actually go into shoots with some new thing that you want to try. And when you go in there with deliberation, it becomes more than just a dream of creating something new. It becomes a goal and a deadline. That's when actionable things start to happen. So go through people's portfolios, examine their work, admire it, and experiment with different styles. That's one great way to let yourself just creatively be inspired. Another important thing as a photographer, as an artist, is to do introspection. And what that means is that often it requires us to step back and to do some self-reflection, take some breaks, and reflect on what's happening within you. Are you loving your work? What sort of things inspire you? And also to brainstorm some new ideas. Personally, I like to sometimes just close my eyes with some nice soft music and just let my mind explore. Sometimes before a shoot, I'll actually close my eyes and just allow my mind to walk through the shoot space. What you're doing by giving yourself that time to reflect is you're actually allowing yourself to be able to build new ideas. Another thing that you could practice is mindfulness in your photography. When you go into a shoot, take some time to stop, pause, and reflect. Look around you. Maybe there's things that you haven't been able to see before because you've just been running your feet off. Maybe you go into a shoot and you just go into autopilot and you just start to plow through it robotically. But it's best to actually just to stop, take some time, and to notice some things that you didn't notice before. Allow yourself to muse at the different things in life, such as maybe you're seeing some flowers that you haven't seen before, the colors or the textures. When you're able to play with different layers in your photography, like foreground, background, bokeh, you can create some amazing layer in your images. And maybe you weren't seeing that before because you weren't practicing mindfulness. All this requires you to actually take some time to stop, pause, and allow your body and your mind to just explore. Now, when it comes to seeking inspiration, a lot of times people will go to the genres that they're in. As a wedding photographer, a lot of us as wedding photographers will visit other wedding photographers' Instagrams and blogs and websites. And there's nothing wrong with that to be able to seek inspiration. But the problem is that if you're seeking inspiration within your own genre, a lot of times you're creating work that just looks the same. So what I like to do as an artist is to allow myself to be able to find inspiration from other things. Maybe it's music, maybe it's sports photography. One of the things that really inspires me is news photographers. I love to look at the Olympics photographers' work. Sometimes they capture those moments at amazing peak moments. Sometimes news photographers like Reuters can tell an entire story in just one frame. And this has nothing to do with wedding photography, but taking those kinds of inspirations from outside sources from wedding photography allows me to be able to feel inspired in many different ways. Movies are a great inspiration for me as well. The cinematography in movies is simply amazing sometimes. Just take some time to pause and to reflect on what you're seeing. This all has to do with mindfulness again. Sometimes it's your children that can inspire you, sometimes it's your spouse. Sometimes it's just looking at the world through different lenses. Maybe it's listening to a podcast of someone else's philosophies in life. And that brings me to my next point, which is one way that you can easily creatively inspire yourself, which is to collaborate with other people. When you collaborate with other artists in many different ways, you could either work with people in your genre or you can work with people outside your genre. When you do this and you work with other artists, you allow their way of seeing things to inspire you. One person sharpens the other. And what that requires is that you go into these shoots with the mindset that you're not just going in there to autopilot. And don't be intimidated by other artists because intimidation shuts you down, but rather go into these collaborations with ideas and hope that not only bringing ideas, you can gain ideas from the other person as well. And a lot of times that requires communication and open-mindedness. Don't just go into a collaboration with your own perspective and the way that you like to do things as an artist. Humble yourself, set aside your pride, and allow yourself to be inspired by someone else. Allow yourself to see things through their perspective. And the next thing for us to do is to document our journey. Allowing ourselves to be able to speak that out, vlog, or write it in a diary allows us to be able to make sense of all the things that we're feeling, the things that we're seeing. And when you do that, it helps your mind, it helps your soul to be able to sort things out. The other thing is that when you achieve something, it allows you to be able to celebrate your achievements. Because without celebrating your achievements, you feel like you're never really accomplishing anything new. And that brings me to my final point, which is to embrace imperfection, especially in yourself. As an artist, you're not perfect, and there's no such thing as the perfect piece of art. It's that seeking for perfection that allows us to be able to keep searching. But sometimes that makes us discontent with our work. And sometimes the perfect thing is the imperfect. It's the creative process as artists that allow us to be able to continue to experience and to create on that journey. Sometimes it's embracing those creative imperfections that leads to discovering new things in your photography. So allow yourself to be imperfect. Make mistakes, try new things. Don't be afraid to fail. And when you do that, you're going to experience breakthroughs in your photography. You'll get more done as a photographer if you go out there and you try something and you fail than if you just sit back and you're too afraid to try. So I hope these tips help you as a photographer. Creative burnout is a horrible thing to experience, and I hope you never have to go through that. So if you like this kind of content, please leave a like and a comment down below, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And so with that, I bid you adieu, and I'll see you guys in the next one.